Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Ice Cream Uploads here on Tuesday, the 27th of June. How are you all doing? We are live from the ICU studio in Poulton-le-Fylde. We did actually have a nice little bit of a pre-show stuff with obviously technical issues that always end up hampering me whenever I'm being left to my own devices, but they have now been sorted out. So if you are listening to this on on-demand services, you won't have understood any of that because you wasn't here live, which we are on twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads. Before this, obviously, before we went live in this instance, Naked Neil came through with his 19-month subscription, so we very much appreciate his support for, obviously, 19 months. Again, absolute legend. Very much appreciate that. We got Jay in nice and early. He did, obviously, put the exclamation mark time, as he does every single time we end up going live, but chatbot was running twice. It isn't anymore. We are okay. We are running the show as normal. As you can see, we still don't have Graham. He is still feeling a little bit unwell, so obviously we do wish him all the best and get better a hell of a lot sooner so that we can have him here next to us in the studio for... It might be the first time in like a month, you know. It's been a long time since we and him have both done a stream from this studio, this fantastic studio that we've had built. So we look forward to sitting next to him sometime soon so we can start doing all the talking again, and then I can give my thoughts and opinions rather than you guys giving me your thoughts and opinions to try and keep this show moving at a nice pace. Tiny Oda's in here as well. Good morning to you. I thought he was in NYC. Yes, he is back. He is back. He's been away for 2 weeks. He is now back in the UK. And we hopefully will see him sometimes during the studio because I do miss him. It's been a long time since we've done a show together, and I do very much look forward to doing these shows with him, as I do with you guys as well. But as mentioned before, this is The Scoop, the UK's #1 video game podcast, even if we do say so ourselves, and we go live each and every single weekday at 10 a.m. ish. I mean, to be fair, it's 20 past 11 now. I think the button to go live was around about 11 o'clock, so give or take a couple of minutes, we're definitely in the right side of noon, I imagine, is probably the way that we go through that. Tito's in nice and early as well with the oh hello. It's been a while since I've done that too. But yes, this is The Scoop, the UK's #1 video game podcast. You can find us if you are listening to this live, obviously, and if you are listening to this on on-demand services, congratulations, you have found us. But for those of you that are watching or listening to us on any of the other platforms, you can listen to us on your favourite ones, whether or not that be iTunes, whether or not that would be Google Play, Amazon Music, or obviously the main one, which is Spotify, which I'm guessing most of you guys are probably listening to this on. If you want to see my beautiful face and the rest of the ICU team, there's obviously 2 ways you can do that. First of all, you can find us right now as we are live over on Twitch on the on-demand service, or you're watching us live, or also on our YouTube channel, which has started to get a little bit of traction. We're not in triple figures with this. I mean, we understand that we don't do YouTube properly. We just have it as another place for you guys to be able to watch this scoop after the fact, which is nice and convenient with it being over on YouTube. But recently, over like the last 3 weeks, we've started to get, we've gone into double figures. We wasn't expecting those kind of things. Again, we don't really pay that much attention to it. We obviously reply to you guys that are watching it over on YouTube, but it isn't our bread and butter. Twitch is definitely our bread and butter. That's where we focus most of our attention on. So again, thank you very much to you guys that are watching this over on YouTube. You're starting to make us consider, should we start putting more time on YouTube, as well as obviously us starting to post onto TikTok more regularly as well. That's starting to provide some very nice feedback for us too. So yeah, we are starting to move in the right direction. We're starting to look at everything that we have available to us, given the time that's available to us too, because obviously this is just a small part of our daily routine, whether or not, well, obviously we do work in the video games business, so this is definitely something that obviously we do as a little bit of a side thing, but you guys are making it put to our forefront of our minds. Should we invested more time into these elements? Should we be giving you guys more content? And obviously you guys supporting us, kind of pushing us in that direction, going, actually, yeah, we probably could do a little bit more in this area. So again, thank you very much for all your guys' feedback. It is greatly received. But yeah, we have got 3 news stories for you today. I did have 4. I'm not gonna lie, I did have 4, but I don't know whether or not we're going to have time, shall we say. I mean, it could end up being the case that we do end up running through it anyway. But yeah, the news story, the main story for today, is that Alan Wake 2 is going to be just a digital-only launch, which, after yesterday's discussion of a physical collection that doesn't contain a disc inside the box that they've gone to the effort of putting in there. I feel like this is definitely the kind of direction that we're going to be moving into, a digital only world. Is this going to be the start of it? Is this something that we can reverse? I do have things that I want to go over with this article. We then have some meta news in the fact that it's launching a subscription games service over on the Quest, as well as Starfield does actually have a physical disc after all, based off of the information that I've just been giving you, and an update to yesterday's story. And then if we do have time, we're going to go through some more Starfield news, but I think that we've kind of covered this before, so this is why I'm thinking that we don't end up covering it. But the fact that Sony is using Starfield as its argument against the Microsoft Activision acquisition, we kind of danced around this. We have talked about this in the past, and the FTC stuff we've got over 1 million times, so I don't think it's that relevant. It was just something that I've been hovering around for a while, but in all honesty, we've kind of covered it in different instances too, so I don't feel it's an absolute necessity to go through that. But the juicy news for today, though, is the fact that Alan Wake is getting a digital-only release due to the fact that they have more time to be able to polish the game before it gets released. So let's jump into that article. So written then over on Eurogamer by Chris Tapsell. He states that Alan Wake 2 is a digital only because it gives Remedy more time to be able to polish the game. We didn't want to release something that we weren't proud of. So as we learned in May, an FAQ provided by developer Remedy, Alan Wake 2 will only have a digital release when it launches on October 17th later on this year, with no plans for a physical release on disc at the time. This has naturally sparked some concern among certain fans, with digital-only downloads posing issues for both game preservation, as shown by the closure of the Nintendo 3DS eShop in March this year, as well as an ownership right exemplified by the infamous delisting survival horror spin-off PT, legendary game. Speaking to Eurogamer at Summer Games Fest earlier this month, Alan Wake 2's creative director Sam Lake and game director Kyle Rowley gave us a little more detail on the reasoning behind going digital only, explaining that actually it was to allow Remedy more time to be able to polish the game to an acceptable level, something publisher Epic Games has also been on board with. Yes, digital only, and kind of coming to this idea both from Remedy and Epic's perspective, that our current thinking is just that it makes more sense for this and the timing felt right, Lake explained, before Rowley gave a little bit more detail on the matter. As creatives, obviously by going digital only, it does allow us more time to be able to polish the game, Rowley said, like a significant amount of weeks actually, because otherwise the game that goes on the disc, obviously it has to be playable without a patch. We didn't want to release something that we weren't proud of basically, and that we didn't want players to play, so hopefully this way we can give you a better version of the game. It's slightly different reasons to the one given in the original FAQ, which claimed that keeping it to digital would help the price of the game down. There are many reasons for this, the FAQ said. For one, a large number of players have to shift it to digital only. You can buy a Sony PlayStation 5 without a disc drive, and Microsoft's Xbox Series S is a digital only console. It is not uncommon to release modern games as digital only. Secondly, not releasing a disc helped keep the price of the game down at $59.99 or €59.99, and the PC version at $49.99 and €49.99 and $49.99 and $39.99 respectively in the UK, which is a good price. It is a good price, to be fair. That said, Rowley's point about traditional times to be able to polish games doesn't chime with the additional explanation of the FAQ. Finally, we didn't want to ship a disc product that would require a download of the game. We do not think that it would make for a great experience either. You can read much more of our conversation with Lake and Rowley, as well as our impressions and the extended look behind the closed doors demo of our big Alan Wake 2 preview. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what your thoughts is on this, because I have indifferent feelings about this. Do I think that we are nearing closer to a digital-only future when it comes to video games? Absolutely. I think that is the inevitable, where we're going to be able to either stream games or download the games where it's not available. The game stores like GameStop are all going to be things of the past. I do believe that that is going to be a future for video games. I don't think it's a very near future, but I do believe that is going to be a future nonetheless. However, I don't believe. I know this is kind of a clickbaity title, not what I've given. I've literally just near enough copy and pasted what's been put in here, because the shock is in the title itself that Alan Wake 2 is a digital only, because it gives Remedy more time to be able to polish. That doesn't necessarily mean that games like this won't just have digital launches, but then a couple of months after the fact are going to be available for you guys to be able to purchase on disc, something that obviously I will be very keen to be able to try and preserve, because game preservation from someone like myself, I know yesterday I've got a shelf behind me and I explained that a lot of the games that are on there are nostalgic or newer games in a franchise or a game that I've been super looking forward to. It's not necessarily that I have to own every single game on physical copy, because I do believe that is a complete waste of space in a very small space that I have available to me at this moment in time in my own office. So having physical games for everything, to me, isn't the necessity. It's just games that I obviously want to be able to own physically. So having a digital future obviously eliminates that. It means that I can come to the office and install the game that I have installed at home, because I just signed to my account, reinstall the game on whatever machine, and then I can go from there. Fantastic. Digital only future, obviously, it is a good thing to a small degree, but the likes of games being delisted and going missing because of licensing issues and things like that, that's where the digital only future falls down for me, as well as the fact that regardless of what game you're going to be downloading on day one with Alan Wake, is not going to be the complete version of the game. I want to say that they want to be able to add more polish, but let's be honest, the version of the game that you're going to be playing, the version that you're going to get on a disc might be 0.8, it might be 1.2. We'll go with 1.2 because obviously that's just giving it a little bit more benefit of the doubt of the fact that it's their version of the game. So what you're getting on a disc is 1.0, okay? Fantastic, you're able to play the game. However, 1.2 is what people will be downloading day one as a patch, and then 1.4 will come out 2 weeks later because people have obviously been playing the game, missions have been crashing, there's been bugs everywhere. Then 1.6 further down the line, then eventually 2.0 will end up getting revealed because they've had so many problems with the game on launch that they need to not necessarily reboot the game, but to patch the game to a degree where they're happy with it, very much like Cyberpunk. So I don't believe that that is going to be the case with Alan Wake. That was just a concept that I'm giving you guys in terms of how this might end up playing out. So the version that you might want to buy, or what they may end up selling later down the line, if it's a digital-only launch and they're launching with 1.0, you guys might end up buying 2.0 on a disc 4 months down the line. That's, I feel like, where we're going to end up going with this. It does mean that things like collector's editions and stuff, very much like we went through yesterday with Starfield, aren't going to have physical copies within their physical collections upon launch. It's going to be game codes. It's going to be the day one version of the game with a massive patch that's going to be taking place. But you guys won't see the patch. You'll just see the game being downloaded. They might end up doing a hotfix the day after, but there isn't necessarily going to be a day one patch because the whole patch is the game that you're downloading then. So it's a nice little, I want to use the word cover up, but I do think that's a bit too extreme for something that we haven't even seen yet. So I do think that's a nice bait and switch with that kind of method thinking with this. But I do believe this is probably going to be the way forward in the future, that we are going to see digital-only launches with the view to having collector's editions with physical copies later down the line. So I'd be very wary of this if you are someone who likes the physical copies. If you are a digital-only buyer for everything across the board now, this isn't going to affect you in any way, shape or form, and you're very happy to be able to pay a cheaper price because I don't have to have the handling fees, shipping fees, manufacturing fees, storage fees, everything else that comes along with it that just seems to happen, has to tag on 25 quid on top of your value. And then you go to game and then obviously they'll offer you 20 quid for a 70 quid game that you bought the week before. You know what I mean? We've all been there. So yeah, we've got a long way to be able to go till we see just a solely digital future. It's one that I am looking forward to partially, but at the same time, cautious optimism, I think, is the word or the phrase that we're going to be looking through with this, because we don't control the narrative then. And once we don't control the narrative of how we consume video games, prices go up. The quality of the games tends to go down because we've got no alternative. Sounds very political, that, and I don't know of another way to be able to try and deliberate that. But yeah, when your choices get taken out of your hand, it is usually a slow decline when it comes to stuff like that. So yeah, cautious optimism is definitely the way that we're going to look at this going forward. Ice Cream Uploads Graham's in the chat. He's put, wait, there's no disc, so a physical edition then. Tito says, I read Tiny Oda's comment as, I thought he was in NSYNC. I mean, confirmed, he actually was. The boy band, just for Tito to confirm in case anybody who isn't over the age of 30 doesn't know who NSYNC was. JNK says, no possibility to resell your physical game if there's no disc in the box. I mean, that's what it comes down to as well, right? Because once they sell you a physical version of the game, a digital version of the game, they are maximizing their profit because there is no resale value on that. They have taken your £50 and then nobody else can play that game unless obviously you give them your account details. However, once they sell you a £50 version of a physical game at Game or whatever it is, and then you want to hand it over to your friend or you take it back, and then somebody else, they give you £30, someone comes in, they buy it for £40, all that money is lost in between 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10 people coming through and buying that one single game that I paid £50 for. I understand that they don't want to lose as much money as that going down the line, but that's the way it's always been, and I think it has worked. But obviously, the way people consume their technology nowadays is definitely just I'm going to sit on the couch, and then if everything comes to me, that's absolutely fantastic. We have Amazon Prime, so someone somewhere is packaging your stuff to be able to deliver to you either same day or next day. So everything is being brought to us. We have takeaways, we have whatever it is, Netflix services, we have Twitch, so that people can just stay in their bedroom and play games, and we end up watching them or listening to someone talk about video game news horrendously, I might add. But yeah, we are now in a position where everything is being consumed at the sofa, and that's essentially what they'll be able to want, because that's how people end up maximizing their profits. Uber Eats, for instance, is way more expensive than going direct to the corner shop or to the takeaway. If you have a look at your favorite takeaway over on Just Eat, I can guarantee it's probably £3 or £4 more expensive than it would be if you ordered direct and picked it up for yourself, and then you got the £3 delivery charge on top of it. Like, that's the way that they want to be able to try and keep the prices, shall we say, down, because they're passing the costs over to us. So yeah, it's the way that we are now starting to consume our technology or consume anything, whether or not it's digital or physical. We want things now, and we want it being brought to us rather than us going down to Game or going to Asda or Supermarket or wherever it is that you want to buy your games from. And that's just the future. Sorry, that's just the present that we're in. So surely all games will just be digital in the future, says Tiny Oda. I assume so. I think that's the future that we're all heading towards. Neil says, yeah, kind of not sure, and the cries about having a disc just screams of people who want to sell on after that they complete it. I mean, that isn't the case a lot of the time. A lot of people end up just buying the game and then keeping it or lending it out to people. Like me and Graham have traded games before now when we've come to complete the games. The digital only stuff, I understand it. However, buying a physical version of the game, I am genuinely not joking here, is usually cheaper than buying the digital version of the game. Don't ask me why, don't ask me how, but that is the case. So you could buy, using this as an example, I bought Resident Evil Village from the game collection for, I think it was £50, which is, for a PS4, a PS5 game, incredibly cheap. But if you wanted to buy that on the PlayStation Store, it was £70. It was $69.99. Why the fuck would I want to spend an extra £20 just for the sake of being able to download it or go 10 minutes down the road to my local game store or 5 minutes down the road to Asda, or buying it from the game collection, which they end up pricing it cheaper anyway? Like, it makes no sense that a digital game would be more expensive than the physical version, considering what I mentioned before, where they have handling fees, storage fees, delivery fees, manufacturing fees, but I'm getting the game cheaper. Something a bit fucky there, and I don't like that. Which is why, if they are starting to turn this narrative around with what Alan Wake's doing, saying that we're going to make it digital only, and we're going to take all of those fees out, and then you can buy the game for £50, where's the other £20 gone? Where we make the savings then, which that's the way it should have always been. It should have always been consumer first. I understand that the video game companies are a business and they need to try and make as much money as possible, but there's usually £20 going missing now, which I don't understand when you buy physical stuff compared to digital. The physical stuff should be the higher price rather than the digital stuff. I don't understand it. I'll probably never understand it because it doesn't make any sense, but that's just the way that we are. All games require downloads now for updates with the size of games, assuming that you can have a few games installed on your console when everything goes digital. I mean, even if you put a disc in nowadays, there's not much data on the disc. You end up having to download most of the games anyway. I think it's the latest Tony Hawk's. Oh no, was it Tony Hawk's 5? I think that came out on the PlayStation 4 and famously only had the tutorial on the disc, and you had to download the rest of the game. Bizarre, but there we are. I'm only digital these days myself, so it won't be affecting me. Good to see the cheaper prices too. Neil says, personally don't see game dying though. Most of them sell consoles and accessories. It's convenience tax. All new games are £10 cheaper on the Xbox Digital Store. When you see it on other stores or places, also discs can be £10 to £20. 10 or £20 dearer? Because your new games are £10 cheaper on the digital Xbox store. When you go to other stores and places, the disc can be £20. You see, I'm going to disagree with that based off of the information that I have going into game stores. Because game stores now are 60 or 70% accessories that aren't gaming peripherals. You walk into the door and they might have 2 glass cases full of iPads or laptops or mobile phones or something like that, and then right down the center is board games, Funko Pops, Beanie Babies, obviously not Beanie Babies but beanie versions of video game characters, and then right down the other side of them we'll have Xbox games, PlayStation games, Nintendo games, which take up next to no area of the shop. Their main money that's coming through now, I don't know this for sure, but I can pretty much guarantee that it's not video games. I'm fairly certain it's other things that they end up getting a little bit cheaper, like board games. It might be cheaper than going to the workshop or something like that. But yeah, I don't think it's video games that are making them as much money, which is the business decision that they made to change from just being a game retail store to buying peripherals, laptops, selling mobile phones and stuff like that. I'm fairly certain that is where their money's coming from, rather than the actual games that they was known for selling and what the name of their fucking store is, for God's sake. So yeah, missed out the exclamation mark. Wish you could edit on Twitch. So yeah, that's just my 2 pence on it. Obviously, you can feel free to disagree with that, but that's just based on my experiences and going to my local game store or going to whatever game store. I feel like you definitely get more bang for your buck going to places like CEX. They do sell brand new games. Obviously, they try to price match whatever it is on the high street, but buying secondhand games it's not really a no-brainer. But honest to God, if you want to be able to buy a game or pre-order a game and you need it as soon as possible, then the game collection is the place for you. Genuinely, they've got loyalty schemes and everything. This isn't an ad or anything like this. This is me trying to save you guys as much money as possible. This morning, for instance, they're selling Final Fantasy 16 for $64.99. I think it is for the PlayStation 5 Steelbook Edition. The same game that's being put on game itself, £70. Where's the £5 coming from? And the game collection is free delivery as well. So that's just small examples that I can give you that game has completely switched away from the average consumer and what made game good in the first place. The Game Station was the best version of what a game shop could be, and we end up losing that 10 years ago, if not more. It might even be 12 years ago now. But the way that we consume video games as a physical and going into brick and mortar stores, that's all completely gone now. It doesn't exist the same way that it used to, which is mildly upsetting, but it was inevitable. It was inevitable. But anyway, moving swiftly on, we do have. Shall we go? In fact, yeah, let's bring up the Starfield stuff, because we did touch on it yesterday, so we kind of have an update on it as well, and it kind of fits into the narrative that we've just been talking about now as well. So then, written on GameStop, which we haven't featured on this show in the longest time, by the way, by Luis Gutierrez, he goes on to say that after a day of confusion, Bethesda clarifies that its upcoming space RPG Starfield will have a physical disc. According to a Starfield blog post posted on the June 11th, it's revealed that a game disc will be included with the purchase of the Xbox Standard Edition. The post reads, Starfield Standard Edition is included with Xbox Game Pass. Game disc included with physical purchases of Starfield Standard Edition. It's also worth mentioning that PC players won't receive a physical disc, but instead will receive a game code. The confusion of whether Starfield comes with a physical disc stems from a now deleted tweet posted yesterday, June the 25th. In the tweet, a fan asked Bethesda support if Starfield will have a disc, and Bethesda responded by saying, "Hello, all physical editions will have a code for the chosen platform. There are no physical discs. So yeah, it just goes on to the backstory of Starfield and what we can come to expect from it as well. We don't need to go over that stuff. We're just telling it was obviously initiated and how long it's been in development for, blah 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 blah. We don't need to know that, but the crux of the story and the moral of it is let's have some more physical editions. The fact that PC are only going to get a code for this, that's acceptable in my opinion. PCs don't even come with disk drives now, do they? Laptops don't. This is a brand new laptop that I got 2 weeks ago, and there is no disk drive in it. The laptop that I've had for 5 years didn't have a disk drive in it. Like, having disk drives in your PC now, I think you actually have to buy them separately and they're USB ported. So that's absolutely fine. PC gamers consume, I'm probably going to say at this moment in time, 99% of their games are pretty much Steam codes, Epic Games Store, GOG, or buying them from key resellers. That's the way that people end up consuming video games nowadays, especially on PC. So having a physical edition that has a physical game in it now on the console is absolutely fine. The buying collector's edition over on PC, if the only way that you was able to consume that game, having a disc in it, probably not acceptable because no one will be able to play it. But yeah, this is definitely the right thing to be able to do. You're buying a physical version of the game or collector's edition, a physical version of it. You want to be able to have the physical disc. If you're buying that, then chances are, you've probably got an Xbox Series X. If you're buying the physical collection and you're noticing now that it has a physical disc in it, and that's the only way that you're going to be able to play it, bad choice. I want to say tough. That feels a little bit harsh. But I imagine you're probably buying this for the sake of the items that are in it, as well as the game, obviously, but the merch stuff that comes with it. But the standard version, obviously, you want to be able to have that. You now have the choice of buying it physical and digital. But the fact of the matter is, yesterday they mentioned that you're buying a physical collection of the game and didn't have a physical version of the game. That was batshit crazy. I can't believe that they didn't get away with it, did it? Because we all ended up absolutely giving them pelters for it. So it's nice that they reversed that decision, and we're going to be getting some physical copies of it as well. Tiny Order says physical stores will die out eventually. I agree. Neil says, rewrite, all games are £10 cheaper than Xbox digital game stores when you see all the other store prices. And also on disc, it can be £10 or £20 cheaper than the Xbox store. Confirmed. Hard agree. You definitely needed a rewrite in there because it read completely the other way around originally. So, yep. Confirmed. I agree with you there, Neil. Jay says, I keep my eye online for when games go on sale and then buy it. I send notifications when they go on sale. There's nothing wrong with that at all, having alerts set up for games that you want to be able to buy. Let's get physical. I want to get physical. I mean, we've got Showmax now, so this is the best I'm going to sound ever, right? I am not reading that out, Neil. It mentions something about bringing back particular discs that were floppy, shall we say. But yes, I couldn't agree more. The fact that physical stores will die out eventually. We have seen, again, I'm going to bring them up with the likes of Game trying to bring their belong centers to the forefront, but pricing us out. I mean, what else could we have? I mean, it sounds like I'm really shitting on Game, which I am, to be fair, because it used to be one of my favorite places to be able to go. I used to love going into a GameStop, not into a game shop, having a look at all the games that are available, going in with like 40 or 50 quid, having a look at what's available, what genres are new, what's in the charts, reading the back of them, speaking to the people behind the tills, because 9 times out of 10 they are gamers themselves and they have a good opinion on what's currently trending. Obviously they're going to try to upsell your stuff, so you have to take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt. But genuinely, growing up, working at Game was my dream job. Being able to speak to people and having that bond with them about games that they potentially want to be able to play, have a nice, decent critique of what games have bombed, what hasn't. I mean, it's essentially what I'm doing now, sat behind this desk, giving you guys the information, because I've kept my hand in terms of video game news, what's popular, what's currently trending. Have I been able to play that game? Give you my in-depth reports on what that's going to be. Essentially what I'm doing now, but working behind the counter in Game. That would have been my ideal job. That job went completely out the window. They completely changed about what Game is, and that was in 2008. They've tried to evolve and stay relevant, but I don't believe that is the case. what I feel like game needs to do, and people can start to take this idea and run with it. It isn't a new thing, it isn't a new concept, but it involves having game shops that sell games that is a social hub at the same time. It's the same reason why I think that having coffee shops that are open later than 5 o'clock is a much needed thing, especially for people. I fucking hate going out clubbing. It is the worst experience in the world. I go out and tolerate it because my wife loves being able to do it. She likes going out, she likes drinking, dancing, to whatever music that she wants to be able to go to. I tolerate that because of her. My ideal at night would be either going to the pub or going to a coffee shop with my mates and talking about whatever it is. I am a boring bastard when it comes to stuff like that. So having coffee shops that are open till like 11 or 12 at night, absolutely fantastic. I would fucking love to take my laptop, go to a coffee shop at like 10, half 10, do a load of editing and stuff. That would be my ideal thing, just to get me out of the house. Like, that's perfect. But we don't have these kind of social hubs. Having, and I mention them all the time on this podcast, having Arcade Club is the closest that we're going to get to that. There's one in Blackpool, there's one in Bury. Go to the one in Bury. It's amazing. It's over 3 floors. It literally has 1 floor of old arcade cabinets. The second floor might be, I'll say, the kids section, where they have like fucking 90-inch TVs on the wall, like 6 of them all lined up with the latest consoles underneath. Then they have like a big circle of tables that has like 10 Xbox Series S's on, where people are joining in Halo tournaments or whatever it is. And then the top floor would be all the modern stuff, all your VR, all the best PCs, best spec PCs available, loads of couches. You can buy beer, you can buy food, the pizzas are amazing from there. That is the experience that I want. I just want more of them around. And then put that with a till at the end where people can go and buy games, they can try them out beforehand. I feel like that is a business decision. It might cost a lot to be able to get up and running, but I imagine it will do extremely well for people of my age, maybe 32 and over, but that want that couch co-op experience that you now have to have over the internet. This really sounds like Angry Man shouting at clouds. I understand that. I can hear it as I'm saying it. But that's the nostalgia that's coming through. I imagine kids that are like my brother, for instance, is 17. I imagine he might be having these conversations with whatever it is that he gets up to now in 20 years' time as well. Like, that's just the way it is. We always preferred the way that things were. We try to evolve. We hate it. And it makes me sound like I'm a 60-year-old bloke, but essentially that's the way that I feel like it should be. Remember Demo Magazine, says Neil. Absolutely. I used to love getting the PlayStation 1. You was on fire in Chester. I don't know what that means. Tito says, the Halcyon days of internet cafes. Spent way too many hours playing Red Alert instead of going to college. Yeah, like internet cafes. Essentially that, bring them back. I mean, people don't need them anymore because they have their own PCs and laptops and stuff, but just a place like having a coffee shop that's open till 12 o'clock at night, I don't think is a ridiculous idea, right? It sells food, it sells coffee, you can go in, they've got nice little tables or little booths and stuff that you can go down with a couple of your friends or whatever. Like, that for me is a perfect night. That's fucking amazing. I'll be all over that shit. Graham's hyphenetically it out for me because I'm a fucking idiot. I'm well aware that I am an idiot. So we'll go for it again. Hal Cleon. Learning with Bibbit. I mean, I'm getting most of my education with Joseph at this moment in time. Whether or not it'll be Miss Rachel being put on there, colour blocks, or whatever it is, that's my education. Peaked. So yes. Halcyon. It's Halcyon. I'll see you soon in a minute. Do you know what I mean? Damn it! We've got one more news article, I think. Have we? Yes, we have. We've got one more news article, and then I'll get out your air, guys. How's about that? So, written on VGC by Mr. Tom Ivan, he goes on to say that Meta is launching a subscription service for Quest games. The Meta Quest Plus will offer subscribers 2 titles on the first day of every month. So, Meta is launching a subscription service for Quest games, confirming a previous leak. The company announced that Meta Quest Plus on Monday. The subscription service will be available for Quest 2, Quest Pro, and the upcoming Quest 3 headset. Priced at $7.99 per month, that's in dollars, or $59.99 annually, again in dollars. Meta Quest Plus will give subscribers 2 VR titles on the first day of every month. It promises to offer a combination of VR's biggest hits, hidden gems, and back catalog classics. The service will debut in July with Cloudhead Games' action rhythm FPS Pistol Whip and Arvo immersive experiences arcade adventure Pixel Ripped 1995. In August, subscribers will be offered Mighty Coconuts Walkabout Mini Golf and Terrible Posture Games FPS Roguelite Mothership Force. Players can access Quest Plus titles while they are subscribed to the service, including one that previously claimed if they left and decided to rejoin later. Until July 31st, Meta is offering Quest Plus introductory offer of $1 for the first month. Where have we heard that one before? So, ladies and gentlemen, the metaverse is getting involved in subscription services. Again, it's just another way to try and keep you into the what's the word I'm looking for? Ecosystem. Try and keep you in the ecosystem by giving you free stuff. Games that might end up being a banger, games that you might not have been able to play just yet, or you've been waiting to go on sale, or games that have just passed you by, you've completely forgot about, and now you might potentially be able to play the game for free, or as part, obviously, of your subscription. The use of the word free definitely has an asterisk next to it. But as part of your subscription, obviously, you'll be able to get new stuff. It's nothing new. We've seen games with gold for forever. We've seen PlayStation Plus giving away free games on their basic package for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years now. So this isn't brand new, but it is obviously coming to the metaverse and your Quest headsets fairly soon. So yeah, that is pretty much it for today's episode of The Scoop. Tito's rewritten it again. Are the glory days of internet cafes. Spent way too many hours playing Red Alert instead of going to college. That's much better. Keep it simple for me because I am fucking stupid. Skiving off work, feel better soon. Says Tiny Yoda to Graham. No comment because obviously he pays my wages and I quite like my job. Despite him not being sat next to me, I can't wait to be able to give you some more Scoop action when he is so that I can shut up and listen to him waffling on. But listen, today's waffling is now finished. I very much appreciate all you guys stopping by that are watching this live with us, or going to be listening or watching to this on demand after the fact. We went live today at 11-ish. Fantastic stuff. We'll be back tomorrow from 10 a.m.-ish. Live from this studio, so I hope that you can join us. But if you want to if you want to help shape that show, there is 2 things that you can do. First of all, find us on social media. It is at Ice Cream Loads across all major social media platforms, or alternatively, and the second way, get involved with our Discord. If the links are now in the chat, so if you are obviously watching this, click those. You'll be sent over to whatever platform it is that you have clicked. But there is an area in our Discord called The Scoop, and all we need from you is the URL plus your thoughts and impressions. We will then give you our thoughts and impressions on the very next show. As mentioned, it will be around 10 a.m. tomorrow. Stick around though, we're going to send you over to one of our friends that's currently streaming. And as always, guys, there's always one thing that we want you to do, and that, my friends, is to stay frosty.